What's up, 88ers? Welcome back. Our live portion of 88 at 12 every Sunday Eastern Time. Camille, stop making me laugh. All right, so today we're talking about mastering muscle growth, the ultimate guide to compound exercises. First,
Yes,
happy Mother's Day.
absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody has a mother. They're wonderful. They're great. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You're great. We love you.
Yeah, I also want to say congratulations to our athletes that competed in the 2024 OCB, the Conquer. You guys dominated last night. We were so proud of you.
Very proud coach here. Very proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk
Great
about
show.
a stacked show, man. I haven't been to OCB in a couple of years, and they just keep getting bigger and better.
Mhm.
I got to take my hat off to OCB for a natural organization. They are very quickly going to the top.
Yeah, there's close to 200 athletes last night.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a lot of stellar physiques to cram through a show. So congrats to Frank and Aaron Meekins for pulling that show off.
Absolutely. And did you hear? Stellar physiques. There
Yeah.
were very few turds that shouldn't have been there. Most of the people there were in great shape, great physique. Like I said, OCB just keeps raising the bar in the natural world, natural competitive world. Good job, OCB. Keep it up.
All right. So let's actually get to the topic that we're here to talk about today.
Yeah.
Compound exercise. So James, why are we talking about compound exercises today?
I have a compound series coming up. The first video is going to drop on Friday. We're going to go over every compound lift for every body part.
Yeah, and so he might even surprise you with a few that you were just not even tracking that were compound exercises.
Yeah.
And then, because it's hard, right? Like we always talk about emphasizing the compound, but if you don't know like which compounds to do, well, it makes it a little challenging.
100%.
So yeah, that's what I love about that series coming up for you guys.
And I did just say every compound move. I didn't have every compound exercise
The
in
best
there
one.
for everybody. I got the best ones in there. Thank you. So I rephrase that. I definitely don't have every compound exercise out there. I have the best ones.
Yeah, especially when you start talking like legs and back, it's like almost every exercise is compound, so it's hard. But as you guys are watching that series, definitely drop us a line if you're like tracking a compound that we didn't go over that you really love. Because sometimes it's just you don't think of them as compounds and they actually are.
What is a compound
exercise?
exercise?
So that's a great question. So let's start off with a little bit of compound 101, right?
Yes.
So the simplest way to think of a compound exercise is to think about an exercise that uses multiple muscle groups and has multiple joints moving. All right.
Simple, right?
Yeah, you really want the exercise to engage multiple muscles simultaneously, right? So it's not an isolation. So the opposite of compound exercise would be an isolation exercise where you're really only working one muscle group.
Yes. We have a definition right here, and I love it. It says, dive into the fundamental compound exercises. Did you hear that? Fundamental.
Right.
Every sport has fundamentals. Your compound exercises should be your fundamentals for bodybuilding.
Absolutely. So that kind of takes me to the next topic, like what are the big lift fundamental compound exercises?
These are the ones you should master, 100% master and progressively overload every single workout, every single week. They are your fundamentals.
Yeah, I would start with like barbell squat, right? That is like one of the most basic fundamental compound exercises there are. And just think about it, like visualize with us for a second. You have that bar on your back, your feet are planted, and you start to move. Like, where are you moving at?
Hips, knees, ankles. Those are the joints.
Absolutely. Those are the joints. So it meets the criteria, right? For compound exercise. We're moving multiple joints.
A whole lot of muscles.
Now let's talk about the muscles because it's actually a lot. Like I would say it's everything from like right at your neck all the way down to your ankle, like your calf.
Yes.
Like pretty much your entire posterior chain.
Plus your
and then you got biceps. Everything. It basically is working everything. So really fantastic exercise. It translates really well. I mean, how many times a day do you squat down to pick something up and then you stand back up with it? At least that's how you should be picking up things, right? You shouldn't just be hinging at the hip and picking it up with your back, right? Like everyone knows that's a no-no. So yeah, the barbell squat, big lift, easy to progressively overload, and very fundamental, and it transfers really well in a functional aspect, everyday life.
And you've heard me say it before, it's the king.
Yeah, it's the king of all exercises.
King exercise. If you're a beginner, you're just starting out, I would highly recommend you start with squats.
Absolutely.
Master squats.
Right. All right. And we got some great videos out there. Just check out our leg day playlist and we'll go through like how to do squats, different variations, because there's lots of them. So you can check that out. All right. The number 2 big lift, deadlift.
The queen.
Yeah. Like deadlifts. They are, I mean, you say that, but like we've also joked that like if we could only do one exercise the rest of our life, what would it be?
Deadlift.
The deadlift,
Yeah.
because of how many muscle groups it's working.
So you mentioned entire posterior chain, which again you're going to hit with deadlifts, but now you're hitting arms, forearms, biceps.
Right.
I failed last week on a 585 attempt twice on my deadlifts. Believe it or not, my biceps were so freaking sore from trying to lift that 585-pound deadlift, and you're going, scratch your head, biceps, what the heck? Yes, you're using your biceps when you're doing a deadlift. If you don't think so, go ahead and fail on a couple of them.
Yeah, the deadlift is nasty. I was actually there for that, right? And he was putting every ounce of energy into that deadlift. Like there was nothing left in the tank. And I always tell, like, especially my newer clients that deadlift for the first time, like, hey, 2 days from now, you're going to wake up and you're going to feel like you got hit by a Mack truck in the back because it is just, it is just that intense.
Yeah, that was Tuesday. I'm still very sore in my lower back. Today is Sunday.
Yeah, pretty intense, right? So deadlifts, again, it's another like really powerful hip hinge motion, which is really important. I mean, especially like as we age, I'm sure everyone's not concerned about this, but you need to be able to sit down and stand up. You need to be able to stoop down, pick things up. So squats, deadlifts, they are absolutely essential. We do them every day.
I mean, fountain of youth is muscle and strength. As much muscle and strength as you can keep as you age, that is the fountain of youth.
All right. What's another big lift?
Okay, we did squats, we did deadlifts, we got rows, bench press, overhead press.
Yeah, bench press. I would think that's like one of the really big lifts too. I mean, you're working so much. You have that nice wide grip. I mean, you're working your chest. You have your shoulders tied in there. You have your triceps tied in there. And so, and you're moving at multiple joints as your arms come together or come up from your the lower position.
Yeah, and if you're a power lifter, guess what? Squats, deads, and bench presses.
Yeah, the 3 big lifts, right?
That's your competition right there.
Yeah. And then, another one I would say is the overhead press. A lot of times people neglect this one. We actually have a video. In fact, we filmed it today. What do you do when you've plateaued on your overhead press? Yep. But this is another like big lift. But think about everyday functional life. Like how many times a day are you like taking that box and trying to put it up on the shelf or whatever? I mean, it's important, right? And even if you don't care about that, if you want to have impressive, like big, thick shoulders, nice size to them, the overhead press is where it's at.
It's going to give you a lot of strength. I mean, you get shoulder strength, shoulders are prime mover, but the heavier you get, your core is going to feel it, man. I just did 265 push press. Guess where I was sore? My core and my triceps.
Oh, no.
That's the 2 spots that got me when I maxed out on the push press. So the shoulders weren't the weak spot. It was the core and the triceps.
Yeah, that tells you something. I mean, at least it shows you the weak spots.
Yep.
In that case, I would say focus on the negative portion of the overhead press. Like, yeah, you're still using your core, but at least then you're kind of working that shoulder in there or trying to.
100%.
So, all right, we talked about what a compound exercise is. What are the big lifts? Like the next question a lot of people have is like, how do you program these? Like, are you doing all compound exercises?
These are good questions.
Yeah, when you work out, are you just picking a couple? What do you do? What do you recommend, James?
Great questions. Great questions. And yes, you definitely need compound lifts in your workout. Should every single lift in your workout be compound? No. You should start with compound lifts. Start with your fundamentals. Master your fundamentals. Progressively overload your fundamentals first. then go to ancillary lifts,
Right.
isolation lifts, et cetera, et cetera.
So for me, like it depends. I'm more like an advanced lifter, so I'll come out the gate and I hit one. I'll pick actually one main compound for that session. So if I'm doing, if I'm doing chest day, then I will warm up and then I'll hit barbell bench press, and that will be my main lift. After that point, I still do other compounds, whether it's incline, chest, decline, whatever, but I focus on one. Like I pick one to focus on.
Great tip.
Mm-hmm.
Progressively overload that one. As long as you progressively overload one, you're still making gains.
Yeah. So what do you mean by progressive overload? Not everyone might know what that means that's watching this.
Great point. So all progressive overload, I'm breaking it down to the simplest point I can. You need to do one more rep or one more pound than you did the prior workout.
Mm-hmm.
That is the simplest form of progressively overloading. If you do 10 pounds for 10 reps, you need to come in and do 10 pounds for 11 reps or 11 pounds for 10 reps, or you're maintaining, you're not building.
Absolutely. And what do you think in terms of like rep range on these compounds? Is it different than isolation exercises, or like, what do you think?
The big nasties, should be
the
about
big nasties.
6 to 10 reps, super heavy, and you can go. Isolation's probably 10 to 12. Go a little higher rep, focus on the squeeze, focus on isolating that one muscle, as opposed to a deadlift where you're using your entire body to heave that weight up for 6 reps.
So here's where I think there's a misconception. I think when people think the big nasty lifts, they think strength, they think powerlifting, they think 1 to 5 reps, and that's not true, right? Like if you are going for strength and using those exercises, great, but for most of us, we're trying to build muscle, get bigger. So that means we're training for hypertrophy, increase of muscle size, which means we actually need to expose the muscle to the stimulus for a duration, which again, like 6 to 10 reps, 6 to 12, right in that range.
Correct. You need a little more time under tension for hypertrophy. For strength, you don't need it. 1 to 5 reps for strength, 6 to 12 for hypertrophy.
Right. I don't know. What do you think about like recovery strategies? Because you brought up a good point. Like you went to hit those deadlifts and you're still feeling it. So like, what do you do the rest of the week? How do you deal with that since they are so intense? It's a good question, right?
Real life. This actually happened to me. So I deadlifted Tuesday, rested Wednesday, did shoulders Thursday. I was supposed to train back on Friday. I was still too sore from the deadlifts on Tuesday. I had no way I'm doing any kind of back work because I'm still sore from the deadlifts. So Friday ended up being a rest day. Saturday, I actually did chest because I was still too sore from the deadlifts to do any kind of back workout. So I had to switch up, do my chest workout instead of my back workout because I was too entirely sore to even try to do another back workout. That's me. That's the way I roll. Some people tell you recover completely before you hit another muscle group. You can. I mean, there's the debate's still going. Well, who's right?
I mean, you didn't really hear him say arms, right? Because like you remember in the beginning, he said, I deadlifted and I felt my back, but I felt my biceps too. And so had he went in like the next day and try to hit an arm workout or a back workout that's using a lot of bicep, like he would have probably had issues. Yeah. So you do have to be kind of smart and listen to your body. Like you need to be willing to move those days around.
Correct. So great point. If I can't go 100%, I'm taking a rest day.
Yeah.
That to me is the overtraining point. If you go to the gym and know you're too sore to get 100% of your workout, put 100% in, take the stinking rest day. Don't grind through that workout. Don't do a 70% workout. Just go home, put your feet up and rest. It's hard for me too. Believe me, I love the gym. I love going to the gym. It's hard for me not to go to the gym. But if you can't, instead of half going through your workout, just take a rest day, come back the next day and hit it at 100%.
Yeah, and I see we have several people watching. So if you have questions not related to this topic, just toss them in the chat and we'll actually answer them. We always kind of come prepared with a topic, but we are here for you guys. So please fire away. Keenan, my man. Yes. He's been asking for so many great videos and so much great questions. I absolutely love it. So keep the requests coming, Keenan. But yeah, we're here for you guys. So fire away with any questions you have. But yeah, getting back to what we were talking about, I think a lot of people like have this like regimented plan, and they'll go in and they'll hit those like heavy lifts, but they're not really willing to deviate from that plan and move it around. All right, I see we have another question come through. What are the fundamental compound exercises? I'm new to weightlifting. At 45, you've mostly done cardio, but you know you're losing muscle and want to maintain. Well, welcome to our channel. I know I've been talking back and forth quite a bit with you, and really great questions.
That is a good question.
So that is a really great question. So really, I would say squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, and then probably like a bent over row, I would say.
The best way to think about it is if you're doing multi-joints. So if your shoulder and your elbow are moving, that's a compound exercise. If your hip and your knees moving, it's a compound exercise. If only your elbow is moving, that's an isolation exercise.
Right.
If only your knee is moving for leg extension, that's an isolation exercise. Best way to think about it.
Yeah, same with like chest flies, right? Like we're only moving this way. We're not like moving at the shoulders and the elbows or something like a crossover.
Yes, and Lilia brought up a very good point. The older you get, the more muscle you're going to lose. You actually start losing muscle at 25.
That is so super young.
So at 45, you're definitely feeling your muscle loss, but you can keep it. You can keep your muscle, you can keep your strength all the way up to your late 50s. You're going to lose your speed, you're going to lose your agility, but you can keep your strength as long as you work at it up until your late 50s. And I'm 47, so believe me, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's essential if you want to do that, to do those big lifts and to do them with really good intensity, right? Like the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And since we kind of talked about this, we haven't talked about it yet, but nutrition. Nutrition's really important, especially if you're doing these really big lifts. Like you need to make sure that you're feeding yourself appropriately and getting enough protein in as well.
Man, if you do the deadlifts and the squats right, you are going to be beat up. You're going to need to recover.
Right.
And the proper nutrients are just going to help you recover faster. You got to stop thinking about food for taste and start thinking about it for function.
Right.
Body for Life back in the 90s. I know I've quoted it a bunch of times. You are cheating yourself if you don't give your body the nutrients.
Yeah, Keenan saying compounds make him hungry.
They should. They're going to burn more calories than any other exercise, so they actually should make you more hungry because you are exerting more energy. You're burning more calories while you're lifting those big compound moves.
Yeah, and Keenan, I mean, depending on the goal, like if your goal is to gain muscle and you're not worried about leaning out or something like that, like by all means, like eat before you go lift. Like, you know, prime the pump. Feed the beast. But if you're looking to lose weight, I get it. Like, you know, you might want to work out, not eating a big heavy carb meal before you hit the gym. But that's just one thing to consider. That way you have the energy to go in and hit those big lifts with everything you got.
True. And yes, it is absolutely normal. And you should be a little bit hungrier the days you lift the big ones. It's not an overtraining thing, no.
No, I mean, I say listen to your body. Absolutely. Like if you're feeling hungry because you've been like hitting those lifts, like definitely track your weight, your scale weight, track how big you're getting and track how heavy you're lifting. Are you adding a rep and a weight every time? And if you're doing all that and you're still looking really good, go ahead and eat more.
Yeah. Pro tip I'm going to give you, Keenan, is I take more fish oil. And fish oil does have calories in it. So I up my calories and I take more fish oil because it helps me recover faster when I do those big compound lifts. So on leg day, instead of taking 2 fish oil, I take 4. So I double it on leg day and the day before and the day after.
There you go. That makes sense. That's a good one. So what do you think, James? Like, I know we're talking about big, nasty lifts and we've been talking about barbell squats, deadlifts, but like, what about someone just starting out? Like, you don't necessarily need to go, you know, put 800 pounds on the bar and try to deadlift it. Like, do you recommend mastering that first with dumbbells or something different before getting into that? Or what do you think?
That is a good question. As a beginner, I would master the form first and then worry about the progressive overload. And these are technical lifts. They might take you a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months to master, but I would work them, master them, and then start progressively overloading them. And you got to think, if you played a sport,
Right.
every time you went to practice, you practiced the fundamentals. Every single practice.
I like your basketball one. Like every time you went to basketball practice, you were dribbling.
Correct.
You were shooting free throws.
I said, Coach, I learned how to dribble 3 years ago. Why are we dribbling every practice? Because it's a fundamental. You have to master your fundamentals and get better at your fundamentals every single time.
Right. All right. Well, awesome. Anything else?
Yeah. Keep crushing the fundamentals. Keep crushing the compound moves. We got to have something else here. We talk about nutrition, rest time.
Well, all right. I've got a good one. So we're talking about compounds. At what point do you work the isolation in, or what's considered accessory lifts?
So for me, I know you focus on one compound. I will usually do 2 or 3 and then 2 isolation exercises.
Okay.
I'm trying, my focus is get bigger and stronger. So I focus more on the compound lifts than the isolation ones.
Right. And you front load those. I think we already said that, but you definitely want to front load those in the workout. One, because that's when you're full of energy, right? Like you don't want to deplete all your glycogen stored, all your energy on isolations. And then you're going into the big heavy lifts and you're like, I got nothing left. I got to stop and eat a snack.
I'm too tired.
Right. So definitely like your most powerful, your most explosive lifts, you hit them first in the order. And then when there's not a whole lot left in the tank, you hit those isolations.
I'm a little different than most. I'm a pretty high level competitor. So basically, I use isolations to bring up weak points. That's pretty much all I use isolations for at this point. The big compounds is what makes me big, what's make me strong, what's going to continue to make me bigger and stronger. So I'm going to keep focusing on those. If I have a weak point, then I'll focus on the isolation moves to bring up that weak point. Right. And everybody has weak points, believe me.
I mean, it makes sense, right? So if you're looking to gain overall muscle size, focusing on those compounds are great because you're working so many different muscle groups. So I think it still applies too.
I mean, we've probably said it 1,000 times. If you want to get big, you want to get strong, start squatting, start deadlifting.
And then in terms of isolation, a lot of my newer clients that I work with, a lot of times when we're doing those big compound lifts, we'll notice a strength imbalance. So maybe they're doing barbell bench press and all of a sudden like a left arm is struggling or whatever to get up. So then we will work some unilateral exercises in where they're working independent arms to try to bring up the strength of whatever the weak point is.
Good point. You could do that, bring up weak points as well. Very good.
Well, I am glad you finally understand. Lilia says she finally understands compound. Yay. Awesome. All right. Commando Slayer, we've been seeing you comment on the channel. Thank you so much for all of your feedback. He was saying an important tip, do dynamic stretches before a workout to warm up and static stretches after a workout. Yeah, that's a good point. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, James?
Sure. So this is debatable. If you're a power lifter, you're going into a meet, you do not want to stretch. It makes you weaker. So if you're a power lifter walking into a meet, make sure you do not stretch before you lift. Now, if you're old like me, I'm 47, and you wake up first thing in the morning, 3 in the morning, go ahead and stretch a little bit before you go out in the gym and start lifting weights. And do just like Commando Slayer said, dynamic stretch before you work out, static stretch after you work out. That is good way to do it unless you're a competitive power lifter, because stretching will make you a little bit weaker, believe it or not. So if you are a competitive power lifter, don't stretch before you work out. Everybody else, especially if you got a little age on you and you're working out first thing in the morning, 100% stretch out a little bit, warm up a little bit before you start lifting. Good question, Commando.
All right. You want to read the next question?
Eat what I want, intermittent fast, 1 meal a day. Would you recommend these methods? I do take fish oil, but only 1 day a day. 4.
Yeah, I mean, intermittent fasting works for a lot of people. I think you just need to try and listen to your body, especially if you're trying to tone up and lose weight. And Lily, I know you were asking me on a separate video about body recomposition. So intermittent fasting definitely can play a really good role in that. But you got to be careful, right? So like if we're trying to actually gain muscle size and we go in and we're completely fasted, we don't have any glycogen stores, we don't have any energy, and we feel fatigued when we hit those workouts, well, you're not going to hit them with enough intensity to really get the benefit out of it. So in that case, it might just be a workout timing thing that needs to adjust with the intermittent fasting.
Yeah. And then we got Keenan. Yes, inform us about stretches. I stretch a lot, but what's the right way? There's really not a wrong way to stretch. Pro tip, I like to stretch too. Camille never stretches.
I'm terrible, you guys, but I feel it in my lifts. Like I need to absolutely do it. Like I think I could get a lot more powerful and a lot of more explosive in some of those exercises. So
I'm calling her out. So on my rest days, here's your pro tip. On my rest days, I will stretch for probably a half hour.
That's pretty good.
Literally every rest day, half hour. And I do it, I work out first thing in the morning. So I'm going to stretch a half hour first thing in the morning before I do anything. If it's a lift day, I'm only stretching for 5-10 minutes. Rest days, I will stretch for literally a half hour. Right. So I need to work out after I eat. Depending on when you eat, yes, Aaliyah. Depending on when you work out. If you're working out later in the day, I would 100% recommend you eat before you work out. I work out as soon as I wake up, so I do not eat before I work out. It makes me nauseous, and I don't like it. But that's first thing in the morning, so I still have the glycogen stores from my dinner the night before. They're not burnt. I didn't wake up and do anything to burn them off, so I still have energy from the meal I had the night before.
Yeah, those are great questions. Absolutely.
Really good questions. Yeah.
It makes a difference. I know, like I was about a year ago doing more of a Mike Mentzer high intensity style workout where I'm going in there. I'm trying not to do too many reps. I'm not too many sets, sorry. Right. And I'm hitting these like really heavy weights. And man, like the days were like, I did it later in the day or something. Like I was so much stronger than when I woke up and did it like fasted. Like there was a big difference. So like I actually had to make sure I was being consistent on when I worked out because it made a difference for my progressive overload.
Wow.
And so there was like inconsistencies in my logbook and I'd be like, I don't understand, James. Like I did this weight, no problem, like as a warm up last week. Yeah. And now I can't even get like 3 reps on this leg press. Like what's going on? Well, hey, I'm like out there on an empty stomach trying to do it or I'm, so it makes a difference.
It definitely does.
All right. Keenan's got another question.
Vertical.
All right. So the question is, if we're doing compounds as the main lifts in our session, should we split the direction of our lifts? For example, one day for vertical, another day for horizontal. That's interesting.
It is. There is a push-pull split, which I think is what you're getting at. So one day you would do all the muscles that push. So all your compound moves are pushing. So overhead press, bench press, etc. And then you're pulling the next day. So you're doing barbell rows, pull-ups, etc., etc.
Right. Yeah. I actually like the push-pull split pretty much. I'm like, that's a pretty good one.
It is a good one. And it's very common. A lot of people do it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to like work on specific body parts or something like that, maybe not. But if you're all around pretty symmetrical in terms of like muscle size and strength, then I think push-pull is perfect split, especially if you're time compressed.
I mean, the answer is you're split. You're going to lift whatever day you're doing. But a push-pull split is exactly what you just wrote. You're doing one way one day, the opposite way the next day.
Right.
But if you're on a 5-day split, you're doing one body part a day, you're going to do your compound moves for shoulders that day. You're going to do your compound moves for legs the next day, chest the next day, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Good question, though. That's great.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else? Tell us more about your compound exercise split. Like, what all is that all about?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Just to tell us more about what to expect in your upcoming compound exercise series.
I'm going to give you all the best compound exercises for leg day, chest day, back day, arm day. I think I even split bis and tris. and shoulder day. So every body part is going to
Yeah.
have your best compound lifts, give you the best results, create the most trauma, and get you the best results.
And they're not workouts, right? They're just compound exercises. So you're not supposed to do it like as a workout.
That is correct. That is correct. You should pick 2 or 3 of those and then do probably 2 isolation movements.
Right. Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely. Kanan, as a beginner, you got to learn the mechanics. You got to learn the form. And I think it was, Keenan, you actually asked for a video of the most popular exercises and the correct way to do the form. So I'm going to film that for you guys. I'll go through all the major body parts and I'll give you like, you know, the most popular things that you do. Definitely the big lifts we've talked about here today. And I'll take you through the proper form so you can get more comfortable and confident in that.
Happy Mother's Day, MV. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yes. Like, this channel is here for you guys. So keep the request for video content coming. We actually much prefer to film content that you guys are asking for than to just film random things ourselves.
Yes.
So please keep that coming.
It's not for us. So if you have a request, we love it. We'll get right on it.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Again, happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. And tune in every Sunday at 12 Eastern time. We'll be here for you guys.
All right.
Thanks for
tuning in.
Until next time.